Hey everyone. So if you're watching this, you already know exactly what this video is about. You've lived it, and maybe you're still living it right now. So your laptop's open, your coffee's going cold. You might have one tab open to a grant portal and another open to a budget spreadsheet that you swore you finished last week. I'm not here to lecture you because we've all been there. I am not here to tell you that you're doing grant writing work wrong. Honestly, if you've been in this field for more than a single application cycle, you've already earned every gray hair that you have. But what I do want to do in the next 15 minutes or so is to hold up a mirror. We are going to walk through the moments every grant professional has lived through. The midnight deadlines, the budget rebuilds, the portal panic. And instead of just laughing about it, which we will absolutely do that, we are also going to talk about what these moments actually taught the most experienced people in the field. So this is a conversation between grant professionals. It's the insider language, and so that jargon is welcome here. It's encouraged. So if you know, you know. All right, are you ready? Let's get into it. So let's go ahead and just start this off with a game. I'm going to read some things out loud, and I want you to silently raise your hand at your desk or just nod at your screen because no one's really watching you if you've done any of these things. Number 1, written a narrative at 11:57 p.m. before a midnight deadline. Number 2, rebuilt an entire budget because someone changed one tiny program detail. One line. That's all it takes. Number 3, whispered, "Please upload," to a federal portal like it could hear you, like begging has ever worked on grants.gov. Number 4, chased letters of supports the day before submission, sending increasingly polite but increasingly desperate emails to get those letters of support. And number 5, my personal favorite, have you submitted the application and immediately thought, wait, did that actually go through? Okay, so if you quietly raised your hand for at least 3 of those things, you're in the right place. Here's the thing though. These aren't failures. They're rites of passage. We've all done them. Every single one of these moments is a data point, and it's a place that you can grow and change your way of work. And data points, when you actually stop and look at them, they become your future systems. That's the real message behind this video. It's not, stop doing this. It's really, here's what doing this taught me and the most experienced grant professionals in the field. And here's how we're going to stop doing it so often. Let's start with the most iconic moment in grant writing history, the midnight deadline. The midnight deadline is almost a cultural institution in this field, right? It's the thing new grant writers get warned about and the thing that veteran grant writers still sometimes show up in. But here's the truth of it all. It really doesn't have to be that way. That midnight deadline does not have to get you every time. So let's look at the table. On the left, we've got the relatable reality. So just one more edit. Why is the portal frozen? And is that the final version? Did someone change the budget again? I need a stronger closing paragraph. Every single one of these is funny because it's true. But I guarantee you've said at least one of these out loud to no one at all at 11 p.m. But the right column, the pro strategy column, that's where the real conversation lives. So let's talk about internal deadlines. If your funder's deadline is midnight on Friday, your internal deadline needs to be at least 48 hours before that. Not as a goal, as the minimum. It's a non-negotiable. And then pre-uploading attachments. A lot of people don't realize that portals like grants.gov actually let you stage your documents ahead of the final submission. You don't have to do them all at the same time. You don't have to wait until the day that it's due and do the mad dash with everyone else uploading all of your attachments. You can upload those attachments as you get them. And so you can do it on day -3. So all that's left on submission day is the final narrative and the final budget. Compliance checklist. And this is important. These can't just live with the grants team. Your program director needs to sign off on them too. They know things about the program that you might not. And if there's a compliance gap, you want to catch it before submission, not during the federal audit that happens maybe 2 years after the award. So you want to catch those things early and make sure that that's a part of your timeline. And the buffer day. If your funder's deadline is a Friday, your internal deadline is a Wednesday. Period. The end. That buffer day is what saves you when, not if, but when something goes wrong. The deadline didn't move, your system did. That's the whole lesson here. But the deadline panic is only half the story. The other half is the budget. This one hits differently. If you've ever had a program director casually mention, oh, we're actually adding a second cohort on day 28 of a 30-day application window. Look at this chain. When one program activity changes, it is never just one line. It cascades. Staff time shifts because now you need more hours for that second cohort. Indirect calculations change because your direct cost base just moved. Match requirements might not be met anymore if your budget structure shifted. Your budget narrative, the one you already wrote, is now inaccurate. And if you were anywhere close to the funder's spending cap, you may have just blown right past it. The lesson here is integration. The most experienced grant professionals do not write the narrative first and then hand it off to finance like it's someone else's problem. They build both simultaneously in conversation from day one. So let's talk about version control for a second, because I know that this can be painful for some of you. So if you have a file on your desktop named something like budget final version 3, actual final use of this one, that's not a joke. That's real life for a lot of people. Name your files with dates. Use shared templates with locked formulas. Have one single source of truth that everyone pulls from. And finance and program staff need to be in the room together early on. Not the 11th hour when the numbers don't add up. They need to be in the room together at the very beginning. Build the budget alongside the narrative, not after it. Okay, so now let's talk about the people outside your organization, the partners. That letter of support, Chase, it is a masterclass in relationship management. Or, let's be honest, sometimes it's a masterclass in the lack of relationship management. Look at the left panel, the plan. In week 1, you send a template letter with talking points. You give clear instructions on letterhead, signature, and format. You set a partner deadline that is a full week before your actual submission deadline. This is the stuff experienced grant professionals do well. And I want to emphasize why the template matters so much. It's because partners are busy. A blank page can be a barrier, but a draft letter with a note that says, please personalize the second paragraph, that gets done in 10 minutes instead of 10 days. Now, let's look at the right side. It's the reality. Follow up at day 14. Oops, I skipped that one. Escalate at day 21. Definitely skipped that. Panic at day 29. Never skipped that one, ever. And why does this happen? Why do we often skip our deadlines? Because we assume that our partners will prioritize our deadlines the same way that we do. They won't, unless we've built the kind of relationship where they actually want to help us succeed. Here's a simple framing that you can use. Our internal review process requires that all letters are completed by this date. That is an honest and professional way to give your partner a clear reason without making it feel like it's a demand. But the deeper lesson in all of this is that the grant professionals who never panic about letters of support are the ones who have built real sustained partnerships, not transactional ones that only activate the week before the deadline. Relationships reduce stress. Build them before the RFP drops. Okay, once you've built the narrative, you've got the budget, you have the letters, and then you read it back. This is one of the most important mind shifts in grant writing, and honestly, one of the hardest to make. So let's go through this table. The instinct to write what we want to say is natural. We know our programs, we're proud of our work, but here's the problem. The reviewer doesn't know us. They're reading 40 applications in 2 days. They're looking for specific answers to specific questions. And if your answer isn't sitting right there in the first 2 sentences of your response, a lot of reviewers will just mark you down and move on. That's why the professional move is writing what reviewers actually scored to find. Next, using your own organization's language versus mirroring the exact language of the RFP. If the funder says evidence-based interventions, your proposal needs to say evidence-based interventions, not research-informed approach. Not some synonym you think sounds smarter than what they want. Reviewers are pattern matching against RFP language, and alignment wins over creativity every time in this specific context. Bearing the answer in paragraph 3 versus leading with the answer and supporting it with the evidence. Lead first always. Assuming reviewers will connect the dots versus connecting every single dot explicitly. Do not make your reviewer work for it. And finally, skipping the scoring rubric versus building a compliance matrix straight from it. This is a simple spreadsheet. List every scored criterion, note the page limit for each response, and have a checkbox for whether your current draft actually addresses it or if it doesn't. This is not a creativity killer. It is a foundation. Creativity lives in how you tell the story within the structure that's required. And ignoring the structure altogether is not the way to go. Advanced grant writing is all about alignment. It's not necessarily about creativity. If you've written to the rubric and you've uploaded everything, and then you click submit, now we're going to talk about surviving the portal. The portal panic is real. And honestly, it's not irrational. Federal portals go down, submissions time out, files corrupt at the worst possible moment. And if you can't prove you submitted, you might lose the grant, even if you did absolutely everything right on your end. So here is your survival kit. Screenshot the confirmation screen with a timestamp visible. This is the single most underused tool in grants management. A screenshot with a visible timestamp and a confirmation number is basically your record that this happened. Save the final submitted PDF in your grant file. This isn't just for your records in case something goes wrong. It's for your debrief for the next application cycle or for any compliance review or audit down the line. Save the email receipt and forward it to your supervisor. Send it to at least 2 people. If your email goes down or gets lost, someone else still has that record. And then document the submission time in your grant tracking log. Critical if your organization is juggling multiple applications at once. Note the application or tracking number in your database if you have that set up, and then also send a confirmation to your program director and executive director. This closes the loop. It's professional, and honestly, it protects everyone involved. Documentation is protection, always. You submitted, you documented, and then you move to the next deadline. But debrief is the step that separates good grant professionals from great ones. And almost nobody does it. 4 questions. Let's go through them. 1. What caused the most stress in this cycle? This is diagnostic. Stress is a signal. It tells you exactly where your system has a gap. 2. What slowed us down, and could it be systematized? If something slowed you down this cycle, it is going to slow you down next cycle too, unless you actually change something about the process. 3. Where did the budget and narrative fall out of alignment? Remember the domino effect we talked about earlier? This is where you go back and ask, when did that misalignment happen and why? 4. What templates, checklists, or processes need to be updated? This is the actual action item. This is where the debrief turns into real, tangible change. One more thing I want to mention. Most teams only debrief when they lose. But think about this. A funded application that was submitted at 11:58 p.m. after 3 all-nighters is not actually a success story. It's a warning. Debrief that one too. The goal isn't to assign blame. The goal is to make the next cycle easier, more accurate, and less stressful, regardless of the outcome. Process equals peace. Debrief every application, funded or not. And that brings us to the bigger emotional payoff of this whole video. So let's slow down here for just a second. Early career, you're learning the rules, the portals, the language of this field. Your relationship with deadlines is survival, and that's okay. That's exactly where you should be at this stage. Mid-career, you've learned enough to start building efficiency. You've got templates in place. You've got a checklist. You're actively managing the chaos instead of just reacting to it. And then senior level, you've stepped back far enough to see the entire system. You're not writing at 11:57 p.m. anymore because you built a process that prevents it. You're not chasing letters of support in a panic because you built relationships that make it easy. You're not building your budget from scratch because you integrated finance into the narrative process from day one. Here's the core insight. The best grant professionals aren't faster writers, they're better architects. They build the infrastructure that makes everyone on their team more effective, not just themselves. So, here's my question. You've made it to the end of this video, which means one of 2 things. Either you're procrastinating on a grant deadline right now, in which case, go submit that thing, or you generally cared about getting better at this work. Either way, I'm really glad you're here. I want to know the most grant professional thing you've ever done. The midnight portal prayer, the budget rebuild from scratch, the letter of support miracle that came through with an hour to spare. Drop it in the comments below. I'm going to read every single one of them. And I promise some of these stories are going to make the rest of us feel less alone. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more insider grant professional content. This is exactly the kind of thing I make videos about. And if you know someone on your grants team who needs this, share it with them. They'll know exactly what you mean. The chaos is real, y'all. The systems are learnable, and you've got this. See you in the next video.